Hi, this is Miss Litton, and this is really going to be a recording of AP Bio Chapter 1, our presentation on that. And this is my wonderful Period 1 class. Say hi. Hi. Okay. Now, we've talked a little bit before about group shared notes. Hopefully you have found a team. One member of your team, if you look underneath group shared notes, if you click on that, and all of this goes faster once we're in our theme here. But you can see group shared notes, AP Bio Chapter 1. So one of you would open that up. I'm opening that up. I'm opening that up. Okay, one of you would open it up, and then you need the gap accounts of whoever you're going to work with on these group shared notes. And that one person would share it with everybody else. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so decide who's going to be what role and just type your name in there. Alpha note taker, you're the stenographer who makes sure you get everything out that comes out of my mouth that you want to get. Okay, you don't have to get me verbatim. Okay, beta note taker hits cleanup, right? They might throw in a story that I might have talked about or some little extra facts in there that aren't in the notes, the scaffolding that I put in, but you just want to add that to it. Flavor Flav, you are in charge of highlighting, making bold the important aspects that you think need to be in there. Flip a Pick, you're putting in the pictures over here to the right that go along. So now you have two ways that you can flip your picture. I have, if you look in the group share notes, I have the presentation I'm about ready to give you. There's a PDF of the whole thing. So Flip a Pick could have that PDF presentation open, screenshot, and throw some of my own pictures in there that I have made. Or you can get some fresh ones off the internet. Sometimes it's helpful to have some other aspects, a different voice than mine. Okay, but you throw those pictures in over here to the right. Now, the way my notes work is you will see that this scaffolding is pretty heavy. I've given you a lot of the notes. The only part you need to do is type in, and I've given you an example right here, what's missing. So when I'm talking here in just a minute, there will be some words for right here. So what I would do is I would highlight it if I was taking those notes and type it in. I will be giving those to you as I'm talking to you. So anywhere that's highlighted, that's the part you're going to need to make sure you fill in, and that's the alpha note taker's job. Beta note taker might throw in any bonus extra on top of that. Okay? Have you decided who is what role? Have you shared it? Go ahead and do that now. Make a copy and share that out with your team members. Oh, you guys, I'm sorry, let me interrupt you right now. Look right here underneath this Chapter 1 group shared notes. This is a notebook copy of it. If you have notebook on your computer at home, you can download a free student copy of the way I present here in Notebook. And you could actually have it be interactive, like my presentation is interactive. You just download it at home. And then this is a PDF of my entire presentation for Chapter 1. You could download that and save it as well. And any of you could do that. But Flip a Pick might want to have access to that if they want any of the pictures that I have. Okay? Also, intermittently, if you want something to show up on, where you want everybody to see it, you can ask me and I'll take a screenshot of it and I will add it in. Okay? Check with your bio buddies, make sure everybody's good to go, and we're going to start rocking and rolling on these Chapter 1 notes.
It's just typing the highlighted parts. Just make Rachel big enough and Caitlin share it.
Anybody need a little more time to get going? Yay! Okay, take a big breath in. Take it out. Okay, so biology is a view of life, and we are scientifically studying it. They are not fake facts, okay? Does science change over time? Not the process of science, I mean what we know. Does that change over time? Yeah, why? Because we can see things better, right? Like what I learned when I was in your position, when I was in high school, I learned about the 5 kingdoms. All life was in those 5 kingdoms. Then, because they had better equipment, better tools, they could see, oh my goodness, if we look at this, this has ribosomes that are more similar to this one has this type of pigment, and all of a sudden now we have more and more kingdoms. That wasn't available to me. There was nothing about genetic engineering when I was in high school, that was taught in the school. It changes. So science isn't wrong, it's just when you learn, it's changed. What our knowledge is about it has been upgraded as we know more, okay? So let's talk about this first part. So that's the scientific study. We'll get more into that in just a minute. We want to learn the characteristics of life. I'm going to teach you a little thing to learn that. If you know anything about me, I try to throw these in whenever we can. Learn them, you will know them forever, okay? The first thing on the characteristics of life is living things are organized and they are made of cells. Okay, that is true of all life. They are organized and they are made of cells, and they acquire materials and energy. They acquire materials and energy. Okay, now look up at me, stop, pause for a minute. I'll give you time. Repeat after me. It's like you're looking through file folders. Go, living things are organized. Do that. Living things are organized. And go, made of cells.
Made of cells.
Good, okay. From the top, just that much. Go again. Living things are organized, made of cells. They acquire materials. We'll get them. Nobody's too cool for school. Everybody does it, otherwise I'll mock you. That's just going to happen. Okay, here we go. They acquire materials and energy. The head has to go. Yes, see, that tone rhythm. Okay, from the top, here we go. Living things are organized, made of cells. They acquire materials and energy. Perfect, okay? Here's your next one. They maintain homeostasis. Do you know what that means? Of course you do. Keep a constant internal environment, even though the external environment or your internal environment is changing. For instance, if it gets really hot outside, what will you do? Sweat. Why do you sweat? Cool yourself off. Now, could your temperature sometimes, your core body temperature go a little high, sometimes go a little low? Yeah, where does it tend to hover for most people, but not all people? So to remember that, you're going to go like this. They maintain homeostasis. Because sometimes it goes a little above, sometimes it goes a little below. Okay, here we go. Living things are organized, made of cells. They acquire materials and energy. They maintain homeostasis. Go right here. Okay, so you're going to be right here. Here's the next part. Oops, sorry, I skipped. They respond to stimuli. They respond to stimuli. We're here. Maintain homeostasis. They respond to stimuli and reproduce. No pelvic thrust in this. I just want it's little. It's like on the download. Okay? And reproduce. Now, today you are all going to have a vagina, and you're going to go, and push out a baby. Okay? And it doesn't have to be super loud where the other classes hear. I'm really pushing out the baby. Okay, so don't do that. Here we go. They maintain homeostasis. They respond to stimuli and reproduce. Perfect. Okay? Now, that stimuli could be a pizza, right? That stimuli could be a man chasing you with a chainsaw. Any kind of stimuli, right? It could be light, okay? Do plants grow towards the light? Yes, they are responding to stimuli, okay? So they respond to stimuli, they reproduce, okay? Once the baby comes out, they grow. So you just went, They grow and develop. It's because I don't know how to do a guy one. So just do that. I'm not trying to be sexist, okay? From the top. Living things are organized, made of cells. They acquire materials and energy. They maintain homeostasis. They respond to stimuli and reproduce. They grow and develop. Now your next one is they adapt. So you're here. I tried to make it make sense. So you said they grow and they develop, and you're here, right? Take your hands that are like this. Watch. Hook your thumbs. Okay. They adapt. What adaptation am I doing right now?
Butterfly.
Yeah, bird. Or yeah, maybe it's a butterfly.
Okay.
They adapt and die. Okay? From the top. Here we go. Whole thing, and then you can type it. Here we go. Living things are organized, made of cells. They acquire materials and energy. Right here, so you just drop it down. They maintain homeostasis. They respond to stimuli and reproduce. They grow and develop, and they adapt and die. Perfect. Yay! Okay, type it in however you want to do it. Okay, next. In AP Biology, come back to me. In AP Biology, everything you learn, okay, is going to be about the 4 big ideas. Okay, everything revolves around these 4 big ideas. Your lab book, if you looked at the beginning of it, if you looked at the table of concept, what do I want to say? Not concepts, content, right? All the labs are within the 4 big ideas. Okay, that's going to come back up again and again and again. So here are your 4 big ideas. The first one is the process of evolution drives the diversity and unity of life. I'll be talking more about that in a minute. But the key word here is what? Evolution. Evolution happens, okay? Big idea 2 is that biological systems utilize free energy and molecular building blocks to grow, to reproduce, and to maintain dynamic homeostasis. Key word here is energy. The third big idea, living systems store, retrieve, transmit, and respond to information, okay? Essential to life processes. Some big idea 4, biological systems, everything's systems, interact, and these systems and their interactions possess complex properties. So the way I shorten it up right here is EEIS. For what? What's the first one? Evolution, energy, information, and systems. I want you to look at these pictures that this particular graphic that I found online. Okay, so I Googled it, okay, found this picture. So I think there's an error in this picture. I think they made a mistake and switched 2 icons. Which 2 could they be and why? Discuss with BioBuddy. Go. What is our code book for life? DNA. So that's our information, right? So did you find that one? That's what I think. I just think that if you're going to talk about storing, retrieving, and transmitting this information right here, I think maybe they should have used DNA for that one. And maybe this one could be for what? Yeah, it could be for systems instead, or it could be here. You could still switch it out, right? Because energy is captured by what kind of organisms first? Plants, right? Plant is an autotroph. So I want you to start thinking like this, okay? Because science one of the science practices is being able to use models, and that's something you want to look at all the time. They have these little diagrams, this image to represent a concept. And so the shell on evolution drives diversity, like, we're all kind of related, that works. I don't know what else you would put for that. But I want you to start thinking about images and how they represent concepts, because that can help you understand the concept oftentimes. Or they might give you an image or a diagram, and from that you have to explain a concept from that image. So always look for those connections, okay? And make sure you put that lock away. And so big idea 1, which is all about evolution, okay, is that life shares some of the same molecules and some of the same reactions. So this points to a common ancestry. Do you remember in Foundations when you did biology and you learned about the 4 important organic molecules? Do you remember what those? It's okay if you don't remember. it's actually, think about the main foods you eat. What are the foods you eat? Carbs, that's one of the 4. Proteins, lipids, and then lipids and fats. So this fat is a type of lipid. Nucleic acids, DNA, RNA, okay, ATP. Those are nucleic acids. So the building blocks for what are proteins built out of? Do you remember? It starts with an A. Amino acids. So that's a building block. Okay. The complex molecule is a protein. If you remember your nucleic acids, the building block was a nucleotide. The nucleotide is built out of a base, a sugar, and a phosphate, right? So life shares those same building blocks. Energy is stored. You can have various ways to store energy, but basically the energy that's the currency, like for us, what's the currency here in the United States? The dollar. You could have a $100 bill, you could have a $50 bill, right? You could have a quarter, but our currency is that dollar, okay? Now, the currency in our cells is ATP, and that's uniform. There's like one thing that's been found, I think it's a bacteria, I think it's actually an archaean that maybe doesn't use ATP, okay? But basically that is our currency, and we share that. So that points to common ancestry between all of us because we share those same chemical properties. Okay, so on your notes, did you fill in all the characteristics of life? You got all those, right? I gave you the 4 big ideas. There weren't any notes for that. I'm now on 1.2 big idea 1. And I gave you everything for number 1, right? There wasn't anything to fill in? Okay. So now, this part, though, is, okay, my name is Luca, okay? Last universal common ancestor. Last universal common ancestor. So down here, here would be Luca. From that, bless you, you have bacteria, you branch off, okay? And you would have archaea. Now, when I was in grade school, these together were known as the super, or grade school, when I was in high school, that was called the super kingdom Monera. And if you look on these posters here in the back, okay, the poster here, all the way to the left, says Monera in yellow. Can you see that a little bit? It's kind of tiny. But now, this has been broken down into archaea and bacteria. And before, kingdoms of life was the biggest classification you could have, like animal kingdom, right? Now there are bigger levels of classifications. There's 3. There's 3 domains: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. And it has to do with subcellular structure and organization. And so now there are 2 domains, actually, which is bigger than a kingdom, okay? Now we have bacteria and archaea. They're both microscopic, usually, that you would see, but internally, their molecules are different, and we'll learn about that later. These 4 right here, Protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia, they're underneath the super kingdom eukarya, and we will be studying that. So now it goes domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, and subspecies. Okay, and so we'll be learning about that organization and that classification. But who started it all? Who would be at the bottom? Started at the bottom, now we're here. Who started it? Luca. Okay, so Luca is here at the bottom. Here's bacteria, that's one domain. Here's archaea. And this right here, oh, that's funny, I just changed the page, is all of eukarya. So Luca, I'm going to let youngest bio buddy take on this slide. Please, go ahead. Go ahead, youngest bio buddy. Find out who's younger. Okay, now, down on your notes, I'm going to help you on number 2. I'm sure you got it, but I just want to check. The unity of life suggests that all organisms are descended from a common ancestor. The first cell or cells. And that is Luca, and I think I gave you a hyperlink to something. What did I hyperlink it? I don't even remember. And then what you would put underneath that is last what? What comes next? Last universal common ancestor. There may be more than one Luca. It's not like it's just one thing, like I am the beginning of life. Okay, there's probably lots of them. Okay? All right, now, next thing. Okay, want to talk about a few words about evolution. Now, listen to me carefully. There are going to be some of you who are like, oh my gosh, evolution is evil. You know, God made everything. I don't have a problem with that. I've gone to church my entire life, taught vacation Bible school, okay? Know the Bible. I can give you scriptures. Torah for some of you, okay? Would be my Old Testament. Some of you have other scriptures or things that you believe in on the beginnings of life. I have no problem with that. It rests well with my soul. I have no problem talking about evolution. And I would go on like these women church retreats, and they're like, you know, what are you into? You know, and they'll talk about it, and I'll go, oh, I'm a science teacher. You are? Yes. Do you teach evolution? You know, and I'm like, I do. You know, go away from me. Okay, now, the problem is that on two levels, okay? And that when you talk about evolution, you're taking God out of the picture, because we're saying, what is the best theory out there, how all of life could have come to be if there is no God? Because if you have faith, and by those of you who have no faith, then you don't have to worry about this. I'm talking to my faith people in here, okay? If you believe in God, that is faith, right? Can somebody prove that you believe in God? Can anybody prove that they believe in anybody? Allah, anybody? No. Okay? We have to apply the scientific method. So, scientific method, I'm looking claim, evidence, reason. Okay? I have to apply that to it. So, I have to take anything that's faith-based out of the picture and go, how could all of this come about if there was no supernatural input of this? And the theory of evolution is very well supported as that being a possibility. Are there holes in it? Sure. Are there questions in it? Absolutely. This is our best guess. As we learn more, maybe there will be fewer holes. Maybe there will be more. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to remove God out of your soul to be a scientist, right? God still, I believe in God. I have no problem with it. Because I understand if I look at the literal days for me, it doesn't say it's a 24-hour day. It could be 10,000 years. It could be 1,000,000 years if you go back to the interpretation. So I have studied that, and I'm good with it. It's not my job in here to help you figure out your faith with the science, but I'm going to tell you from my point of view it's possible. So, but that's something you would do independently. So when I talk about evolution, don't go, devil lady. Okay? You don't need to approach it in that manner. And let me just tell you, if you are somebody who wants to argue against evolution, what you want to do is first understand it. Because there is nothing worse than talking to somebody who is uneducated about it and they want to talk to me about it. I just want to go, you should stop talking now, okay? Because you can make some good arguments, but you have to really understand it. So take this opportunity to understand it the best as you possibly can and figure out your faith. Talk to people who can figure out. And outside of the classroom setting, I'm happy to talk to you about any of that, okay? Know that. But don't get upset when you learn about it, okay? So evolution just means change over time. Have you changed over time? Have you matured from middle school? Are you any different from middle school? That's evolution. Have landforms changed over time? Give me an example of a landform changing over time. Grand Canyon. Did you see what I was trying to be right now? What? Earthquake. Volcanoes. Good. All right. That is evolution, change over time. When we talk about biological evolution, we're talking about species changing over time. Now, lots of different things can affect species changing over time. Just chance. A tree fell on them. They all died. Dang it. Okay? So chance can affect it, but what we see the greatest amount for is natural selection being that mechanism. What do you hear in natural? What do you hear in natural? Nature. Nature is selecting what's best adapted. If you are a bird, what is a great adaptation to have? You want to be light. Why? Or what did you say? Oh, you said flight. I was going to go, exactly, you want to be light. I'm glad you're there. Their bones are very hollow. I was going to go, good job. You already knew that. Flight, yes. To have flight, what are you going to need? Wings. What else? Maybe some feathers, right? Those are adaptations. Now let me ask you this. Do all birds fly? No. Okay, look at an ostrich. Does he still have wings? Do those wings get him off the ground? No. Do you think he could have evolved from a bird that could fly? Yes. But in his environment, it was better to have big, strong what? Legs. Think about penguins. Do they fly? No. Do they still have wings? Yes, but what do they use them for? Swimming. Could it have evolved from a bird that once was flying? Yes. So there are salamanders. Look what that is. Okay. I combined two. In caves, there are salamanders. They're known as salamanders. I thought you would know that. In caves, there are salamanders who have withered eyes. Did God create them with withered eyes? And then they went and lived in caves? Because like, I'm so embarrassed. Or is it possible they were a salamander that was out and about, but they started living in caves because they were protected or there was more food in there, and eyes became less important, so it didn't matter if you were born with or without eyes because you weren't using them. Okay? That is an example of nature selecting what's best for that environment. Okay? Natural selection. So on your, I don't know what I need to give you, if I need to give you anything. Evolution is common descent with modification. And I gave you natural selection, and I gave you some examples there. Underneath adaptations, modifications that make organisms better able to function in a particular environment. Better able to function in a particular environment. Now, we will get to this later. I don't want to terrify you in any way, okay? But if you look at your DNA as our code book, our DNA would have a mutation in it, right? That mutation might be for that withered eye. Now, if you're out where it's well lit, that mutation would probably be selected against, right? But if you're in a cave, that mutation could be selected for, right? So there's your genes, your DNA. For instance, I have DNA for blue colored eyes. Where are my other blue-eyed children? We are mutants, okay? The reason why we are mutants is, generally speaking, having blue eyes, the sun is always brighter to us, which makes it so chippy, okay? But the problem is we can have more light come in and damage our retina because it's always brighter outside for us. The reason why our eyes are blue is there is no pigment there, and you're seeing the black of our retina come through as blue eyes. If you have brown eyes, it's because there's actual physical brown pigment that you are looking at, okay? Blue eyes is lack of pigment. The more deeper the blue, the less pigment you have. That is a mutation. However, it's not like people go, oh, she has blue eyes, no one will mate with her, okay? We're not like that, okay? But that would then make it selected again. So we've lived with that. The DNA, our genotype, we have genes. I have little b, it's recessive, blue eyes. If I had just one big B allele, I would have brown eyes. We'll talk more about that when we get into genetics. Phenotype is how it looks. Some of you could be carriers for blue eyes. You actually have brown eyes, but let's say you had a blue-eyed mother. If you have a blue-eyed mother, I know she gave you a blue-eyed gene. And you got the brown-eyed gene from your biological father. Phenotype is how it appears. Genotype are what are the actual alleles that code for it. And you have two copies because we are diploid organisms. We're going to talk more about that later. So if you hear that, don't go, oh my gosh, do I have to memorize that for the quiz? No, okay? I'm just introducing it to you. You can have variability. Some of you have black eyes, green eyes, brown eyes. We have variability here in our population, okay? Changes in allele frequency. You can have selective pressures. Is this better to be bigger, stronger, faster, sharper teeth? The fittest individuals are going to get the most sex, right? The fittest individuals will have the most sex, so they're going to have the most offspring. So that's how that trait is selected for, and that is natural selection. Okay? And you can, over time, even have so many changes that you evolve into a new species unless that becomes less adaptive, and then you will have an extinction. Okay? That's evolution in a nutshell. Don't become overwhelmed with it. I want to just introduce it to you in layers, and we're going to revisit it again and again and again as we go through these different concepts. Tell your bio buddy on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10, I feel pretty darn good right now, or 1, I am so scared I want to poop. Okay? Tell your bio buddy, how do you feel right now? Okay. Now, big idea 2, come back to me. Big idea 2, okay, so we remember the first, it's EEIS. So what was the first? What was E? What was the first E? Evolution. And the second one is energy, okay? So we're looking at cellular processes and the energy it takes to make them run. So the big yellow one is the sun, okay? It always starts with sun. That's where the ultimate source of all of our energy is, okay? Now, who went last time? Oldest bio buddy? Youngest. Okay, youngest bio buddy, take over on this slide. Oh, sorry. Whose turn is it? Old. Go old. Take over on this slide. Wait, no, you have to talk. What? That's all I have to do. Okay. So energy is the capacity to do work. What do you think is the most commonly known energy unit that you hear the most? Calories in food. I agree. Okay. Food is energy, right? That's why we eat. And some of you, like, you'll get sick if you don't eat. Some of you, like, I'll get the shakes, or I'll get lightheaded, you know, a little break in the day. We'll pass out for a second. But we need energy to make. Where does ultimately, I don't care if you're a vegetarian. I know biologically it's not good for you to be a vegetarian. Why? I can tell by your dentition. See these? These are for cutting and tearing meat, and the flat molars in the back are for plants. I can also tell by the length of your intestines, because you have an intermediate amount of intestines. If you were meant to be an herbivore, your intestines would be a lot longer, and you wouldn't have these teeth right here. Now, gluten, not gluten, that's another whole subject, right? Because we process stuff, right? And some of you are allergic to different things. You can't have it. I get that. Biologically, you're meant to be an omnivore, to eat plants and animals. If you choose otherwise, you can. But ultimately, all of our energy, whatever you choose to eat, is ultimately coming from the sun. And then you're either eating plants, or you're eating animals who have eaten plants. Or you're eating fungi who broke down animals or plants and used their energy, right? That's all what we eat. Maybe a little bacteria and blue cheese. You know, we're always eating different things. Making some sauerkraut, okay? So on energy, it's the capacity to do work. Metabolism, wait for it, there it is. All the chemical reactions that occur in a cell is your metabolism. Those are both reactions that require energy and reactions that use energy, produce and use energy. All the chemical reactions in your cell. Now, chemical cycling versus energy flow. Okay, so I would like the youngest bio buddy explain this diagram right here. Go, young one.
Just look at that.
All right. All right. Do you remember this from Foundations?
Yes.
A little bit, right? So, you can think of it like energy flows and chemical cycle, right? Energy flows and chemical cycle. We have what we have. Whatever here is on Earth, this is what we have. Unless some like meteor brings us some more, right? We have what we have. And we have obviously whole units just on this, okay, that we'll be talking about. And on your group shared notes, where do you think the word is that you need for the fill-in? I'm looking at number 3 underneath big idea 2.
Sun.
You got it, sun, perfect. Okay, and so we all need to, and we learned about this, we need to acquire materials and what? Energy, okay? So for instance, he's having a little pancake. I know, I had to figure out a way to insert it into my lecture just because I liked it. Eat that pancake, turtle boy. All right, so then we need to maintain what? Homeostasis. So this is biological balance, maintaining a constant internal environment, despite fluctuations. Maintaining a constant internal environment despite fluctuations. Maintaining a constant internal environment despite fluctuations. Okay, good. We're doing all right. All right. So, what was big idea 1? Evolution. 2, and then information. Okay, so genetics, information. Obviously, we have whole units and labs and everything on this. So our instructions for life is in our what? DNA. Good. So if you look, information runs the world, including biology and life. Information examples are DNA, but another piece of information is a hormone. Right? Hormones are also information. Neurotransmitters, like in neurons, that's all information. So how do we get that information passed on? Okay, union of sperm and egg. For us, it's sperm and egg. Okay, it's different depending on the type of organism, and we will talk about that. And we know that we respond to stimuli for us in order to get to this process, and then we reproduce. That didn't come out of him. Okay, and I gave you all of the terms for reproduce, for development. All of those are already given to you. We do what's called sexual reproduction because we're a diploid organism. I make a haploid egg, somebody else makes a haploid sperm. A haploid plus a haploid is a diploid zygote, which undergoes mitosis to form another whole organism. Okay, then those organisms will do meiosis in either their testes or their ovaries and make more haploid cells, which get together, diploid zygote. Okay, that's the story. Okay, but some organisms do asexual reproduction. You'll know all of that. This is binary fission. This is bacteria. Now, bacteria can have sex. Okay, there is bacterial porn. Okay, it's called a sex pilus, and they like reach out this little cytoplasmic extension and get over to another one. And she's like, "Stop, you're violating." And so they can have sex. Okay, and they tend to have sex in stressful conditions. Okay, when they start to stress out, you know why? They're trying to acquire some new what? New genes or new traits that might help them in their changing environment. You see that? Okay. Like, I'm stressed out, I need to have some sex. Okay. All right. When things are normal, they'll just do binary fission and they'll replicate their DNA and separate into 2 different cells. Okay, and we'll talk more about that later, but I just want to make sure there's sexual, there's asexual reproduction. Growing and develop, it could be like this plant, and we'll learn about that process as well. But in that process of reproduction, and when DNA is either fused together to form a diploid zygote, or if you have that sex pill is coming across, sometimes you have a mutation. Now, do you think this mutant right here, what are its chances of survival out in the wild? Good or bad?
Bad.
Probably bad. One, because it might stand out unless it's on snow, right? But maybe it gets, why would we have that pigmentation in our skin?
To attract partners.
It could be. Good job. If you want a red monkey butt, yes. It could be. Exactly. Patterns. That would be another reason why you might have pigmentation. What else? Yes.
Blend in with the desert.
Blend in with your environment. Exactly. Why else?
Like protection from like heat or energy or
From the sun. Exactly. So that might put him at a disadvantage. Those were all excellent. Okay. Now let me just tell you right now. My heart is smiling inside. Okay, I'm smiling joyfully. I'm doing happy Jesus cartwheels right now inside because my sister and I used to say that. I don't know why, but whatever. I'm happy because you all came up with excellent reasons why, and that tells me you have good minds. And that makes me so happy. So I'm almost full. Okay, so mutations can lead to variety. It could be a good mutation. Like if I said, you know what, let me just see your phone. Is this an iPhone?
Yeah.
I'm just going to pop off the back and just make a few changes. Okay? What are the odds that that's going to be a good change? Not too good. Yeah. Most mutations don't work because you're so streamlined, it's not going to be a good thing. But if I somehow did something magically that made her battery last longer, that would be a good mutation that would be selected for, and we want more iPhones like that, right? Chances are it's not going to be a good mutation, but it could. It could be a good mutation. So basics of genetics. There are 4 words here. I would like the person in the blue seat. Look at your desk. Who has the blue seat? There's a blue and a slate. Alternate back and forth between gene, genome, chromosome, and DNA. Ping pong back and forth. Explain those. Blue seat, slate seat.
Okay. So G. I think explain. So you just explain it. Wait, are you adding this? Yeah. Anything you add?
Okay, now, this is the part where I'm showing discipline, which is huge for me. I'm stopping. Okay, I'm stopping this presentation because we're going to finish it next class and talk more about the lab next class. And what is it time to do always at the end of class? Blog. Now, I don't know where you are in your Google site, but I do want you to find your blogging paper. Do you know where you can find your blogging paper?
On the
Google Classroom. So go to Google Classroom. Okay, and you will find in there, you will find in there, minimize, close. Okay, I need to get back to my website. You will find that blogging paper if you scroll down. And I probably made it so there was a copy. How did it come up? How did I have it? Or did you have to make a copy?
it comes up as
It comes up as a copy, good. And you're going to want to name it. This is Unit 1, right? And, okay, and you're going to want to put your name in, yeah, perfect. It's got your name on it. And you could take away original if you wanted to. It's just your Unit 1 blog. And you see where I have last name and period? Okay. And then put today's date. And you want to change it. Do you see how I have Lytton and all of that? Yeah. Oh, you know what? You know how your name comes up in the front? The problem with it is it doesn't go last name, first name. So you want to just change it to last name, first name. That would be helpful. And then you don't have to write it later on. Just so long as you have last name, first name in the first thing. Up at the top, see how it says the title of it? And it has your name coming up because I made a copy for each of you. Change that to last name, first name instead of first name, last name. Now, before you start your blog today, debrief just for a second. Talk with your bio buddy. What are some of the things we discussed today? If what I want you to do for this particular blog is let's say you're at the dinner table and your parents ask you, what did you learn today? Okay, I don't know if any of your parents do that. Maybe they do highs and lows. Do they ever do that? Maybe they don't talk to you or make you any food. I'm not sure. But talk over with your bio buddy. What are some of the things we discussed? What was today about? What are some big ticket things? Talk about it for a minute and then blog about it. Go ahead, have that discussion. And I hope you're having a good day, and we'll pick up here next time.